My name is Roya and I'm coming to you with the books that I read in the latter half of September. I am going to start with The Bone Raiders. This was really disappointing. This is basically about a clan of raider women who start riding dragons, basically. And I thought that this really read like a book that was concocted entirely based on this very sellable premise, and the book otherwise had nothing going for it. So basically it had no world building, no character depth. Anything that was trying to give us world building was like randomly thrown in there. And then it seemed like a really missed opportunity to actually make a point, because we do kind of see that these women have to live this lifestyle. They have to basically live on their own, ransacking villages and all that stuff to survive, because they otherwise would have had to do things they didn't want to do. But it really does not explain that or go into that at all. And this book ended up being just really boring, and it just had nothing to it, and I was really bored reading it and really disappointed that this wasn't better because it sounded so good. I'm That Girl by Jordan Chiles. This is the memoir of Olympic gymnast Jordan Chiles, obviously, who was stripped of her bronze medal for no reason, because usually there's actually like foul play that happened when that happens, but literally it was racism in this case. And so this was a very fascinating memoir, just because, I mean, I'm not someone who follows, you know, gymnastics or the Olympics or anything, but it was definitely really fascinating to hear about what this young girl went through as far as being a gymnast, a professional gymnast at a very, very young age. Like, she started at 6 and already experiencing racism from the people involved. And it was just a very interesting just story overall, and it was just really weird to think about, you know, a lot of the things that go into being a professional athlete and a professional gymnast we don't really hear about. Like, for instance, they have to be randomly drug tested, so they have to have someone keeping tabs on exactly where they are at any time in case someone wants to just show up like wherever they are and drug test them, which is just so weird. Like, they could just be living their lives and be at the movie theater and someone shows up and says, oh, hey, I need to drug test you. Like, that's wild. I don't know. It Had to Be Him by Adib Khorram. This is a romance between two dudes who went to high school together but didn't see each other since, and they're now in like their late 30s, and they somehow find each other in Italy. And this was, as usual with Adib's books, this was really adorable, and it gives us some very likable main characters that I thought were really adorable. You know, you want to see them succeed. But I thought that the pacing of this one was so weird, just because the whole middle of the book had no actual conflict in it, really. It was just about going around and sightseeing in Italy, kind of, and I was like, okay, like, where'd the plot go? And like, everything in this book that was any semblance of keeping our two main characters apart wasn't really. We already know that they have every chance of being together, so it didn't really make for a very good romance book in the sense of what I'm typically looking for. In that you kind of think that something, you know, is going to be keeping them apart, and you don't know how this is going to pan out. But in this case, it was very obvious how it was going to pan out. So it was kind of like, okay. And so to that extent, I was not as much of a fan of this book as I was of his previous books. But I did think that it was really adorable, and it did deal with a lot of issues, like, you know, one of our main characters is fat, whereas the other guy is really buff. So the guy who's more fat thinks that like the buff guy is not going to be interested in him, whereas even the buff guy was literally married to a fat lady. Like, he doesn't care. So there's all kinds of stuff like that it does deal with some issues and all of that, but it overall just didn't really contribute to the conflict. The Mad Sisters of Essie, this was a really weird book. It starts off with like two sisters living in a whale and kind of goes weirder from there. And with weird books, you kind of want the weirdness to contribute to the plot in some way, or at least be presented as, you know, this is how the world is and all of that. There's, you know, even with the weirdest books, there is some kind of actual logic, like keeping it together. Even if you read Alice in Wonderland, there is some actual world building there, whereas this was just really weird and I was really losing track of what was what and I was really confused. So I didn't love this the way that I thought I was going to. Black Salt Queen, this is basically about a bunch of political intrigue on an island, and I thought that sounded so much more interesting than this actually was. This book did not get good until there's a hostile takeover of the kingdom, and people have to kind of survive that. And that doesn't happen until at least 2/3 through the book. I was really thinking that, you know, usually a book with political intrigue and such really keeps you reading it before anything like that happens, and whereas instead it really didn't, and I was kind of like, all right, and Will Prescribe You Another Cat. This is the sequel to Will Prescribe You a Cat, and unfortunately this did not do what its prequel did at all. This completely missed the mark just because, first of all, you know, in the first book, we get every chapter has, you know, the cat actually teaching the person something by virtue of, you know, having to take care of the cat and all of that. They learn something, whereas in this one they really didn't. There was nothing keeping these, you know, nothing helping these people by virtue of taking care of the cat. It just didn't make any sense. It was really just random and nothing actually happened. And then there was a lot of random stuff that just was not explained, and it was just so weird. And so I felt like this entire book was really flat. It was not what the first one was at all. Like, honestly, I was really looking forward to hearing more, you know, that the first book did. So those are the books that I read in the latter half of September. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these in the comments below, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye.